been working the last 6 years in community action work. I am certified in English as a second language instructor, and I'm an avid reader, love nature, I love camping. I'm not talking about, cabin camping either. I enjoy the rustic camping out in the woods. I absolutely enjoy that. And then I am also a mother of two beautiful girls. I have a high schooler and an 11-year-old. So, in this virtual world that we're in, at any time you might hear a scream or something thrown. So just give me grace as we're moving forward with this presentation. As I mentioned before, I do work for Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency, and our mission, quite simply, is to empower people and communities to be strong, healthy, and thriving. We have over 60 programs that help meet the needs of low to moderate income residents in Wayne County, of course, which is in Michigan. So we have programs ranging not only from our family literacy program to Head Start, utility assistance, home ownership, tax preparation, tax foreclosure prevention. So we just have a myriad of programs. So why is that important? That is important because we were founded in 1971. So we were have been working to help meet the needs of our community since that time. About we are more than 17 years ago, not quite 20. Um, we saw the need for additional programmatic educational services to meet the needs of our clients. And we are, if you go to the next slide where it says LEAPS program, we started this program. It is learning, excelling, and parenting successfully. And so we saw that there was an unmet need in the city of Hamtramck. We is a very highly immigrant population, very diverse, is very highly populated and dense. So we saw that there was an unmet need for education, literacy, immersion, and citizenship services for mothers and their children. So this group presented a unique opportunity for us to help these individuals receive these services and these programs that they needed to help make their families even stronger and have self sufficiency and sustainability. And we were trying to figure out how can we do this and help eliminate some barriers. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So this is our Family Learning Center in Hamtramck. It was, believe it or not, an enterprise rental car facility when we first moved there. So it took a lot of renovations, but that is currently where our LEAPS program is housed, as well as a Head Start location is also housed in that building. And so we, through this particular location, were able to provide not only the early childhood classes for students, we were also able to provide a learning space for the mothers to come and receive educational services, also able to provide parenting education courses there, digital literacy classes, and it also allowed for, because parents are on site with their children, it allowed them to really engage in one of the family literacy components known as Pact. I don't know how many individuals are familiar with Pact, PACT, which is parent and child together. And so that is an opportunity for mothers to actually engage with their children while their children are in their classrooms. So, just imagine, I want to learn how to speak English better. I know how to speak English, but now I want my GED, but I have children. You're able to come to this learning center and receive your own educational services. Your children are able to receive their education on site, and you're also able to work with your children while they're in class, and you have access to all of these supportive services that our agency provides. So it's like, what, it's almost like, what else, but make sure this works. And it's been working for almost 20 years now. So, cultural sensitivity. Obviously, I talked about, we're in this community, very diverse. We have a lot of individuals. Majority of our participants, our families, are immigrant families. So for the participants who are with us today, what comes to mind when you think about cultural sensitivity?
So that's a question in the chat. When you put into the chat what you think about when you think about cultural sensitivity.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but I think that I know that there's a lot of different, what I think of when I think of cultural sensitivity is cultural humility and cultural competence and cultural, and a lot of different words that we've had over the years to be able to think about how people can get along and respect each other and communicate effectively across language and cultural barriers.
Absolutely.
Griselda says the language words I use when communicating. Deborah says not making assumptions about others' traditions and lifestyle. Dawn says parenting differences. Jennifer says cultural awareness. William says not thinking every culture is like yours. Elda says respecting the customs and belief systems of other cultures.
Absolutely.
And then Galaxy Note, I don't see your name, I'm sorry. Cultural caring and loving. Oh, that takes it to a new level, right?
Yes.
And Steph is respecting other cultures, lifestyle, and experiences.
Absolutely.
And without assumptions. I think that's a hard one. How do you understand the culture without any assumptions? You know, like, I think like we need to make assumptions in order to be able to learn too.
Yeah.
I think
So absolutely, I appreciate that. They were just coming in. Thank you all so much for those, for your participation in that. That's great.
Very active, Willie.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes. I would say cultural sensitivity encompasses all of that. I think everyone would agree that it's probably not to the best interest of program staff or participants to just act as if we're all the same, right? Or we know what we often hear, I don't see color or I don't see a difference. Well, is that really the best way to address your clients who do feel different? And it's okay to be different, right? But when you add value to a person because they are different, or you judge them because they are different, that's where you have the problems, right? It's not so much that we're different. There's no problem, but it's when you make a value add as a result of those differences. So, cultural sensitivity is very important. Is again, where you can move to the next slide. Our clients. Go ahead, Kathy.
I was thinking it probably also means that when you're planning services or delivering services, that you're sensitive that they may be received differently by different audiences, and maybe you even talk to people, before you deploy something about what might work for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I wanted to just have a conversation briefly about some of the challenges that a program like ours may have encountered, or opportunities for growth is what we like to say now. So, as someone, a couple of people may have mentioned in the chat, differences in cultural norms, right? So, what does that mean, as it relates to some of our clients? So, again, one of the things that we have, most of our clients are either Bengali or Yemen. So, one commonality and cultural difference is that for our mothers, they have to get permission from their spouses before they can enroll in the class, right? So that's, it's something that's just a cultural norm. It's not something that we can just say, and you probably just saw my child duck down behind me. Anyway, so that's one thing, and so recognizing that you may not be able just to have uh, uh, students be able to enroll on their own. Their enrollment has to go through um, their spouse, right? So that's just one thing that I can think of just off the top of my head. Then there is also, go ahead.
What do you think about asking people what cultural norms they have encountered, and it's a
Absolutely.
challenge in there? Because I'm thinking, I know, in Oakland Parents Together, they have a population from Yemen, and they have an African American population from Oakland, California, and they
Mm-hmm.
use the parent cafes as a way of getting those people together. But the norms for eating are different.
Yes.
Like the
Yeah.
the Muslim women are strict about halal and only eating meat
Yes.
that is halal. So they had to learn a lot and negotiate the difference in eating patterns and praying also. Like
Yes.
the Muslim women stopped to pray at certain times, and so it's like that was a cultural norm. It was something that was important to them, and it's beautiful to watch people respect each other's norms and work it out. Like, how are we going to do that and do what we're doing together? So I'm just wondering if other people have examples of how cultural norms have been respected within the programs that you're familiar with, either as a
Mm-hmm.
participant or as a provider.
Yeah. And Kathy, you just gave some great examples, because that's exactly what we see. We have to make sure that we create our program and schedule our program in a way that we are mindful of that, of the prayer times. You know what I'm saying? We have to be cognizant of that as just one thing, of the food choices like halal. So those are examples that we see every year when
I'm
we enroll
surprised
families.
people in the chat aren't come on, y'all. I know that you've been doing this. I know that you have a lot of cultural sensitivity and that you've seen like practical ways of navigating cultural differences or cultural norms.
Mm-hmm.
If not, we're going to have a lot of webinars on this.
Well, they may be thinking right now. So if they think of something as we're talking, we can acknowledge it when they add it. Yeah. Um, but some of the other challenges that we had, language barrier, for example. When we started our program, believe it or not, we did not have a bilingual staff, right? So, that is a challenge, calling and trying to get information. We had to learn, in order for us to really be culturally sensitive and really honor what we're saying, we have to get on board and make sure that we have staff who can communicate with the people that we are trying to assist, right? That we're trying to help educate. Um, Transportation, a big issue. So, for instance, our mothers are not getting on public transportation. It's just not happening. You can forget about it. They're not using the bus. Most of them, they walk or their husbands bring them. And we have a few who do drive, but transportation is a challenge, you know. Or another one that I didn't think about when I did this slide is when school. If school is out for their school age children, those who are kindergarten and up, then they aren't coming to class because they want to be at home with their children. So that's another barrier to consider. And then, quite frankly, poverty, right? Just, you know, the fact that so many of the clients that we serve have just needs that are kind of systemic, really, you know what I'm saying, that we don't necessarily have the ability to completely change, but we can help make better, right? And then, you know, are there any individuals who are watching us today have some other examples of challenges that they have run into with a similar program, or other challenges that they, you know, wonder if we had?
So Lori says, for us, it's important to keep in mind the time that wives have to run home to get meals ready for husbands. So meetings have to be scheduled earlier in the day, but after they finish their duties at home also. So working around home obligations.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we don't do any evening program. So we try to really make sure that our program day is within the school day hours. You know, again, because once the school age children get home, they want to make sure they are at home for their children. They don't want is no coming and then um, you know, coming back. You know what
And,
I'm saying? So
and I
mhm.
know that at Be Strong Families, when we were doing a lot, or when we were doing a lot of in-person cafes, and we, you know, in different programs, one of the reasons that we provide dinner, you know, and a good dinner, not just
Yeah.
like pizza or something, is because of the last one. That, you know, that if you provide a dinner for the kids and you provide a dinner for the parents who are coming to the cafe, that's a contribution to, you know, to when people are having difficulties meeting basic needs. And it's also
Right.
having we also did some raffles, or were in touch with people who did raffles for that reason as well. And I know
Yeah.
in Oakland, again, I know a lot about that program, and I know,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, Yemen, and it's the only other program I know that works a lot with Yemeni women. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to get people to get their permission from their husbands, it was they paid them $5 each to attend, a
Wow.
very nominal amount, but it was like a little bit of spending money. It was contributing to the household income. So that was part of
Wow.
the husband saying yes, you know, to them coming.
Okay.
And it's not obligate. It's not obligation. It's culture. Norma, I'm not under. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. So William says, likewise, we would serve food also for the families in the in-person cafes. And Lori said we also had to accept moms who wanted to bring babies. The whole group had to accept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of one of the elements of our program that's great is that we do have the ability, which everybody does not have. You know, I can acknowledge that everybody does not have the ability or the space, right, for the mothers to bring their children to school with them. But that's one of the hallmark elements of our program is that they are allowed and encouraged to bring their children with them to program. So that helps eliminate a huge barrier. But I don't, you know, even though we're talking heavily about the Hamtramck location, and again, that's our location with a heavy, you know, we have a heavier immigrant population. We do have a program in Detroit where is more native, so it's not really an immigrant population at all. You know, just American born students, but we still have challenges and barriers. One of the biggest challenges is transportation. So a lot of our parents at the other location are willing to use public transportation. That is not an issue if they do not have a car. But what we saw was we needed to help alleviate that burden. So we provided bus cards for enrolled students so that they could get back and forth to class throughout the week. So, in an ideal world, we would love to be able to have our own transportation system built in where we could go and pick up everyone, which we initially did when we first started almost 20 years ago. But over the last several years, we don't provide transportation, and that decision is above my pay grade. So, but I think I think it had to do something maybe with liability or some things like that. But we do. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Oh, I was going to say that there's another cultural thing that we've come in, or I don't know whether it's cultural or what it fits under, but in recent years, both in our youth programs with the Youth Advisory Board in Illinois, and also in training, a lot has come up about pronouns and assumptions about gender. So, and that's been like that was a big wake up call for our trainers. We got an evaluation one time. One of the feedback comments was that there was an assumption made that everybody in the room was female, like that, that wasn't necessarily the case. So the sensitivity to people's identity, and this is especially true with teenagers in child welfare, is that just being cognizant of and being careful about assumptions about gender and sexuality.
You know what, Kathy? That's a great point. And because our program works with the parents as well as the children, you have to be very sensitive to what you just mentioned, especially now when you're dealing with children, right? Because you don't want to make those assumptions with the children either. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's something that that's a valid point. It's a very valid point. Right now, because of COVID-19, because of the pandemic, everybody, I'm sure, who is listening in knows or has experience with the challenge of digital literacy and access to technology. And even if you say we're going to give everybody laptops or we're going to give everybody tablets, okay, but everybody does not have Wi-Fi, right, at home. So how are you going to manage or assist them with that? Okay, I'll even go a step further. What about you're giving me a laptop, great, and I have Wi-Fi, that's awesome, but I'm working from home, or I'm at home. Or not even working at home. I'm at class with you, right? I'm a student. I'm doing ESL, but I also have 3 children who are expected to be online as well. So where's all this happening? You know what I mean? So
parents don't know how to use it. Lori said in the chat, some people, the biggest challenge that they're now facing since COVID has been technology, and some families just don't have access, and many parents just don't know how to use it. So you can give a laptop and you can, if there's internet access, but if you don't really know how to use a computer because you never have before, it doesn't help.
Right. Absolutely. And that's one of the program offerings that we were providing prior to the pandemic, quarantining, was digital literacy every week for those mothers who needed that. And even one of our programs is highly internet reliable. So we had to really rethink some things as well as it relates to the technology piece. And again, I can't reiterate what you just said enough. You have the technology, you have the Wi-Fi, but now you have challenges of how to use it, how to actually access it, and then fears around safety and things of that nature. So excellent, excellent. Um, I see another comment there, Kathy. Did you see the next comment? You can move to the next slide as well.
Right, I was going back and forth with Norma about, I think I said,
Next slide.
I think I said, what was that formation of clicks due to language? I thought that was a good one.
Oh, okay, you can go back one. So what we noticed would happen oftentimes in our classrooms is because, it's a very community driven environment, right? I'm going to sit by and I'm going to only communicate with and talk to the other students who I know, because we live on the same block, right? Or because our children go to the same school. And so we still have to work on helping them, even in our classes, to kind of expand and not only want to be with just the 2 or 3 people that they know, or I'm only going to sit with these 2 or 3 people, and trying to just, expand that and help them, especially in the ESL classroom, to get out of that comfort zone, knowing that we all are one community here to support each other. So you have to kind of break out of that. I only want to talk to the 2 or 3 people that I know. So that's something that we see almost every year when we newly enroll students. And I must mention our goals management. Every family that comes in does kind of like a goals assessment, and our instructors are not just instructors, but they are coaches along the way to help make sure that these families are meeting their goals. So they have goals, not only like individual learner goals, but they also have goals for their families as well. So we, help walk them through that and hold their hand and coach them along throughout the course of the year. Okay, next slide. All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the, so we just spent some time talking about the challenges that we have faced over the years, and some challenges that other programs may have faced as well. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about some of the strategies that we have used to help make sure we alleviate any barriers as much as possible. So I said this earlier, obviously, making sure that we hire and train culturally sensitive staff, right? And you can't just assume that people know how to do this. Not only you have to hire the right people, but you have to have ongoing trainings about equity and cultural diversity and cultural sensitivity. It can't be something that's a one-time training. It has to be ongoing, and you have to show that you are committed to this. This has to be a commitment, and it has to be become a part of your fabric, right? So that's one of the strategies that we utilize as ongoing. Something else that we make sure we do is we honor cultural celebrations. Our students love to have celebrations. They love to cook and to bring in food to share with class. So we celebrate that, and we look for opportunities to help, do that for our students, and allow them to share their culture with us. I think that is very, very important. So I'm very proud of the fact that we make that a priority, that we honor the various cultures through celebrations and even through our course curricula. Okay. Um, we also offer additional courses I briefly mentioned earlier, such as citizenship, digital literacy, which we just mentioned, and career preparation. So we have some students who come to us and they say, I just want to learn English, or I just want to get my GED just so I can say I've done that. I want to learn English so I can, help my children at school more. I can understand what's going on with them, as far as their education. And I don't want to do anything beyond that, at least right now. And we respect that, right? That's fine. Then we have some students who they want to learn English because they want to then earn their GED, so that they can go on to community college. They have aspirations of being a nurse or being a teacher. You have and then we have some students who are in our ESL program where they already have education, in terms of their high school diploma, or some even have degrees from wherever country they came from, but their English just needs improving. So they just want um, to learn English just because that's important to them. They want to learn English so they can feel more a part of um, the culture that they're the community that they're now living in. So it's not so much that I need this that I can go on to college. They already have that, but they want to strengthen their English speaking abilities as well. And then I already mentioned that our instructors serve as success coaches for our clients. Next slide. Okay, so strategies. So this is how we help with our young people. Again, one of the strengths of our program is that parents can bring their children to school with them, and those who are qualified, their students can also be enrolled in our Head Start program. So I talked briefly about Pact, Parent and Child Interactive Literacy Time. So that is an opportunity it's an opportunity for parents to join their children in their classrooms and work with their children during lessons, whether it's story time or um, handwriting, whatever activity is going on in the classroom, parents are allowed to be a part, okay? Not just there to just volunteer, but actually to be interactive and engage in the learning process with their children. And then we also have separate activities that are outside of the classroom where parents and children can engage in activities together, okay? So that pact is very, very important. We do some modeling sometimes, but really parents also are a driving factor because they can share, this is what we would like to see. This is what we would like to do with the kids. And so that also helps give them some ownership as well as activities that they can do with their children. And they can take these activities back home and do them in their house. And we'll talk next week about some activities and some engagement that parents can have with their children inside of the home, right? Even in the midst of COVID-19. We provide a plethora of literacy resources and tools, from books to games, everything that you can imagine. And really, the emphasis is on low cost or things that you just have in your home already. We do not want parents to feel like they have to have these huge coffers that they have to go and dig out, resources to teach their children at home. Parents are their children's first and best teacher, and you can do a lot with just a spoon, and a measuring cup, right? So we want to encourage parents in that way too, that you don't have to have some, you know, great post-secondary degree and a lot of money to be able to assist your children with their learning at home. Family field trips, we definitely make sure that we do that a few times out of the year. We make sure that we have opportunities for parents and for their children to go on family field trips. And in Michigan, in Detroit especially, prior to COVID, there are a lot of opportunities free at no cost for parents to enjoy their children with field trips. And even now, even in the midst of COVID, the virtual field trip world, as you already know, Kathy, is through the charts. So it's so much that parents can do with their children, even in the midst of COVID. Um, and then home visiting, we definitely do home visiting, making sure that we support where we can. It's kind of along the lines of that modeling and coaching. We do that at home. And in the past, we've done the parent cafes.
So I wonder, it occurred to me, like, what's the best field trip during COVID that people in the audience have heard of or gone to? Like, what's the one that you know that kids, your kids or someone else's kids really, really enjoyed? The zoo says, went to the zoo.
Yeah.
Where else? Nobody did any virtual field trips?
You know, just going to the park, you know, going to the park is a trip, you know. Here, and I don't know how many people here are from Michigan or from Metro Detroit, but we have a beautiful river walk area and an island that is in the middle of the city. It's called Belle Isle, and so that's a great field trip opportunity for parents who are in Metro Detroit.
Ashley says our kids' science museum has had great virtual programming and walking, and Elda walking at the park and hiking. Carla says Detroit. But Carla, all panelists and attendees, so that people can see what you're saying. Norma, same thing. Virtual visits during COVID have been what her kids liked the best, visiting people.
So let me ask the panelists, so of the virtual field trips, so what has been, you know, is it just simply virtual field trip to a museum? What are some of the virtual field trips, like specific places that people
That's what
have?
I was asking too. Giselle says virtual reading. I don't understand what that is. What's virtual reading?
Probably story time, maybe virtual, like somebody is doing a reading. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone says their kids' science museum. Okay.
Cool. Can't make it to New York City, so they're going to the Bronx. And Giselle says they have several programs that read to the kids. That's great. And I think also, like, it's an opportunity. A lot of cities in their chambers of commerce have done like little tours of Philadelphia, for example, or tours of, you know, your home, so that you can kind of have a sense of traveling, you know, with kids. Like, let's go to St. Louis today, you know, or let's go.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
That is fun.
And then there's music ones too. I know that, like, there's virtual concerts or singing programs.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And before we go to the next slide, I did want to make sure that that all of the participants are aware when clients and families, when they express an interest in coming into our program, we definitely provide them with a pre-assessment. We want to make sure we know where they are. right? Because you can't really help meet the needs of people when you don't know where they are. So all of our participants, our clients, they do have a pre-test. We have a like a mid-year assessment as well, and then a post-assessment that all of our families receive. um, we do have a set schedule, and we try to prioritize, those schedules. We also make sure that we follow our local school districts, calendar, so we know when is parent teacher conference day. We're very attuned to that, so we know when school is going to be closed for a teacher planning day. So we take all of those into consideration when we're kind of like developing our with our calendar. Something else that for our English language learners, conversation partners, that is something else that we have incorporated into our programming. Just having someone who is a volunteer, who comes maybe once a week to just have a conversation with our students in English. And so it really does help to build connections. And it's a way for them to converse and just in a non-academic way, if you will, and just have conversation. And the volunteer is learning about a culture that they may not have been familiar with, and vice versa, right? So that is important for us, but I did want to make sure that people are aware that it's not a program where people just come and we just, do whatever. Like, we do have goals, and we do know where our students are when they arrive, and we, provide assessments throughout the year to make sure they are meeting their learning goals as well. All right, next slide. So I mentioned home visiting, right? So because our programs are in combination with or in partnership with our Head Start programs, a lot of the home visiting is able to take place by Head Start teachers, right? Because they do home visiting as a part of their program. But even outside of that, if they're not enrolled in Head Start, we have home visiting as well. And let me just be very clear that home visiting does not necessarily mean a parent educator is meeting with children or meeting with the family physically in their home, right? It's wherever that family would like to meet outside of the classroom. So we even have home visiting sessions that take place in the building, but just in a different space. They could take place at a park. The home visiting can take place at the local library, but it is an opportunity for that parent educator or parent coach to model and engage with that parent about their child outside of the regular classroom setting. And there's another opportunity to go over goals and, um, another way in a non-judgmental way to observe and provide feedback. So I don't know if our individuals are familiar with home visiting um, that
sure,
are watching us today.
I'm sure there's a lot of home visiting
Yeah.
going on.
Because I would just be interested to know what some other programs um, do for home visiting and how they are addressing that in
During
this
COVID.
new pandemic world that we're in.
Yeah, that's a great question. So those of
Mhm.
you whose programs offer home visiting, how are you doing it now? Do you go and before, did you, like Deanne, did you do home visits outside of the home? Or are your home visits always going to the person's home? Gotta wait for a little while
Mhm.
to see people
Mhm.
thinking about it.
Mhm. It's a little bit different now, of course, with, how does that feel? I guess is what I really would like to know
Well,
in this virtual
yeah,
setting.
Lauren says half of her job is home visits, but now they're all phone calls. And Lauren, they're not even Zooms, they're just all phone calls. And Elda says Texas Home Visiting and Hopes are providing services via phone, Zoom, and FaceTime. And Lauren and Elda also, did you, before COVID, did you always do your home visits in the home, or did you do it also in, more public spaces or other places? Elda says Texas are providing, okay, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was
Yeah.
another. Zoom, Norma says Zoom home visit.
Okay.
Lauren says all phone calls. We're hoping to start a Zoom group soon. All the visits that I personally completed were in the home, but we're willing to do the visits in the community.
Okay. That's great.
And Elda,
That's
did
great.
you do them in the community too, or did you do them only in homes? Elda
Okay.
said the home visits at the parents' home and also the library. And Ashley says they're still going in the home with PPE and health screens in advance, and sessions are
Okay.
outside as much as possible.
Okay.
Where are you, Ashley? Where are you? What state are you in? Southern Indiana.
Okay.
Norma says WhatsApp, FaceTime, home visits. Remember
Okay.
all panelists and attendees so that people can see what you're writing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I
How
know
does it
Lauren
feel?
initially, looks like Lauren was not all of that thrilled with the phone call. Based upon what she wrote.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's hard for people. They've expressed it before in the chat, is that this climate is really hard for people who provide direct services to families. Like there's
Hmm.
so much you get by seeing the family and being with the family, and it's not
Right.
the same to do the services.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm glad to see that so many people have, um, decided to use other options and other alternatives to meet that need. So whether it's meeting outside or at the park, because even if I'm here, our libraries, I don't believe. I know there was somebody else on the line who was from Detroit. I don't believe our libraries have opened back up yet to receive people in person. I think we're still doing kind of like, if you want a book or something, they'll bring it to you to your car. So, you know, with that library not being an open resource, that is something that I don't think I've ever seen before. Have you? Have you seen that before, where the libraries were just closed like that,
Nope.
Kathy?
Stephanie says usually our agency does one community visit and one virtual visit. At this time, they're not in homes. And
Okay.
Lauren says phone calls in general are not my favorite. It takes a lot of courage for me to work up to a phone call with a stranger or a participant for work. Some of my phone calls are with new intakes, so it can be really weird. And Wanda says we did home visits at home or restaurants nearby. Angelica says we are calling families to check if the family is in need of food or clothing, we can drop things off at their front door. We can do
Okay.
a Zoom meeting if the family is willing.
Okay. All right. It's so great. So some creative ideas. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. You can go to the next slide. How are we doing on time, Kathy?
It's 12. Okay, we have a few minutes. My iPad just glitched. It's 12:52, so we have
Okay.
3 minutes.
Okay. So, all right. So I did just want to, before we concluded, I just wanted to share some of our uh, wraparound services that we provide, which are really essential to help make our programming successful. The financial literacy education courses that our Financial Empowerment Center provides for clients at no cost to them, very beneficial to them. To all of the clients, we provide basic needs assistance. And so, what does that mean? That means we help those families who are in need of utility assistance. They need help with their light bill or their water bill. We have assistance in place to help those clients with that. free tax preparation services, which are provided, all of these are provided year round, I might add. And then we have partnerships with certain organizations such as Michigan State University Extension, the Cooking Matters program, which is really about healthy cooking, eating, and nutrition, and the National Kidney Foundation. For anybody who is interested in having a successful family literacy program, I would say you definitely want to make sure that you utilize your community partners. I know I've said a lot in this presentation, so we do a lot and we offer a lot, but you know, our agency has grown over the years, so we weren't always the size that we are now. So you know, utilizing these community partners is so important to help meet the needs of your clients. Kathy?
I was just asking what the National Kidney Foundation partnership is for.
So nutrition, they have a nutrition program that they help what that they facilitate, or they also do training and coaching for individuals who would like to also help facilitate some of their programming for families. So it's nutrition based.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you moving to the next? Okay, so we're at the end of this. Thank you so much, Deanne. I think next week Deanne's going to be here, and it's going to be less of a description of what Wayne County, what the program does, and more of a open conversation about family literacy. Is that what I understand, Deanne?
Yeah, for Wayne Metro. Yep. So next week we're going to just talk more about strategies that parents can utilize in the home and kind of expand upon resources for parents and caregivers of children during this time.
And family literacy specifically? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like activities and tools and resources for promoting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much. And just to remind everybody, this is Deanne's contact information, dsurles@waynemetro.org.
Yes.
Advance to the next slide, Cheyenne. Great. So we always try to end with the Amplify. What do you want to amplify? Amplify family literacy. Amplify, what do we want more of? I think amplify communication across differences, amplify cultural sensitivity, amplify doing the work. Perfect. Next slide, please, Cheyenne. Next. Okay, so this is to invite you all. These are online More Perfect Union cafes that we are, it's the Strengthening Families Protective Factors, but related to questions about how to navigate the larger landscape of inequality that parents need to navigate in order to be able to parent effectively. So we have More Perfect Union Cafe once a month, and these are, you can sign up for them on our website if you just want a taste of them, refer anybody you want to them, they are free. And it's just kind of another thing that we're trying to offer to keep people talking and keep them, keep us all moving forward. Just a reminder again about the Together for Families conference. The early bird deadline is 8/14. You can use our discount code, and it's, you know, a number of wonderful national organizations have put this together. We were one of them. We sponsored the equity track. So look forward to seeing you there virtually, and please use our discount code so that you can get the best possible price. And tomorrow, Iabe Onokede and Leanne Rubenstein are here again from Compassionate Atlanta, and they're going to be talking about mobilizing compassion in the moment and from the inside out. And that's about like what happens when you get triggered and how do you go more directly to compassion for yourself and develop that inside. So where compassion isn't so much of something that you're doing with and for others, but something that you're nurturing and growing inside of you. And then on Monday, Center for the Study of Social Policy is going to be sharing their anti-racist intersectional frame for doing family service with all of us. And that's going to be a great conversation. Deanne will be back on Tuesday. NAMI is here on Wednesday, which is the National Association of Mental Illness. They're doing Ending the Silence, which is about stigma and reducing stigma for mental illness. And then Thursday, Sandy Baba, who's a board member of Be Strong Families, will be here doing a hopefully very interactive cooking with kids during COVID. She's gonna, at least when we talked about it, maybe she'll do something different, but what she was gonna do is like take the same 5 ingredients and create like 3 different meals with them, or at least 2 different meals with them that taste completely different, and also talk about how you involve kids in the cooking and her experiences with her kids cooking during COVID. So look forward. There's also a whole different set of workshops in starting at 1:30 Central in Spanish, and today is, or tomorrow is Hatha Yoga. And there's just a lot of really good content. So I encourage you to share that with your Spanish speaking clients and families and colleagues. And again, invitation. Deanne's here because she stepped up. So if you would like to step up and offer a webinar, convene a conversation for the Be Strong, for people connected with Be Strong Families, we welcome you. And thank you for being here, and see you again. Thank you, Deanne, very much. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we'll see you next week. And
all right, see you next Tuesday.
Okay. Oh, and fill out the poll, everybody. We're going to keep the poll open just until the last few people, but fill out the poll, please, before you leave.